We only have a few more of these. Welcome everyone to Wednesday Wisdom. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. My voice is a little croaky because I've been talking nonstop, photo shoots and marketing meetings, and I have my tea. Plus, it's real cold here in Florida finally. So
I heard in the
yeah,
50s.
it's super windy here. I think because of that storm coming up from the south. But my poor tomato plants are like, whoosh.
Now you know how New England feels. They'll perk right back up tomorrow if it's warmer.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they don't snap. But it's crazy windy. Like even my poor dog won't go outside. He's like, he looks at me like, I'm not going out there.
I'm not even there. This is supposed to happen when I come into town.
I know. Usually you bring all the crazy weather.
Oh God. Yeah, it's actually been like summer here, and it's staying in the consistent like 40s and 50s right now. So.
Well, it is, what are we, a week away from Thanksgiving? Like we can officially call this holiday season, right, everyone? It is the holidays. So
And a couple of weeks from your wedding.
I know the big day is coming soon. I'm turning you up a little bit because we can't hear you very well.
Okay.
I know. Are you excited? You're coming down. What day do you get here?
I am. Wednesday, the 9th.
So 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope it's warm and sunny and I can get a tan because I'm white.
I hope it's a little cool, not windy, but I'm looking What's that?
So you don't sweat in your dress or anything, right?
No, it has to be the perfect day for my dress. I want it to be like, let's just pray for 70 degrees and sunny, but a little brisk in the evening, right? So
perfect.
It's going to be so fun. Those of you who don't know or aren't, I sent out a fun email last week, so I'll be sending out more consistent ones in 2021, but this year has been a bit of a wash for a lot of us, including my monthly newsletters. But I did get one out at the beginning of November and announced the wedding, and Alicia's going to be coming to photograph it. And I have to also give a shout out to Melissa, who is a past student, and she's actually coming to be Alicia's second photographer and help photograph the wedding. So it's going to be so awesome. I love it. And I got my dress and everything.
I'm going to figure out what I got to wear because I need to be mobile, but still cute at least.
Yeah. My mom and dad are wearing navy, and Maureen, Maureen is marrying us, my sister-in-law, and she's wearing emerald green. So
ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it'll be a fun holiday themed wedding. And we're doing a photo booth. Did I tell you that? We're setting up a photo booth. Yes.
That's fun. Okay, sweet.
And all y'all who are listening are going to be super jealous that you're not coming to the wedding because we're doing fire pit with s'mores, and we got live music, and
so much fun.
It's going to be a fun backyard gathering. Lots of fun. So 3 weeks till the wedding. One more Wednesday Wisdom today and next week, because guys, we are taking off for the month of December. We've been coming to you live since March, Alicia?
I think so.
Jeez, that is every single week. And at the beginning, we were doing it every day for like a month. We did
it twice a week for a while.
Yeah, that's right. We were Fridays and Wednesdays. So I am taking off the month of December, but Live Wonderful is not going away. We are actually going to do a student takeover. So we're going to be sharing for the whole month of December student photos who have gone through all different kinds of classes and photo tours and lessons with us. So look forward to that. And if you guys have been a past student, if you have photos you want to share, you can go check out our latest post on Facebook and Instagram. We give you the lowdown on how you can share, but basically just tag us in your favorite picture and tell us why you love it so much. And we're going to share it throughout the month of December. And then who knows what 2021 is going to bring, right?
No, maybe we'll have some stuff up our sleeves.
Yeah, I've got all kinds of ideas actually. And even though one of my big resolutions is to take more time off of social media, get off the screens. That doesn't mean we're going to be disappearing. We're going to just do things a little bit differently. But I thought this would be a good segue into our word for today, Wednesday wisdom. Because I'm leaving in December, we're going to skip ahead and do our resolutions, our New Year's resolutions, a month early. So, Alicia, have you thought, I'm totally putting her on the spot. She doesn't even know what's going on. Have you thought about 2021 yet? Have you thought about any New Year's resolutions that you might?
Well, I don't like to think too far in the future.
Oh, 1 month?
I know, 1 month. Yes. I mean, I guess a goal in a way, resolution. Well, to live more presently, obviously, because I don't like to live, with thinking about the future too much. But to live on my own with my 2 dogs, I mean, that's that's vulnerability at its finest.
I love that.
To make it happen, whatever way I have to make it happen. And I know it's going to happen, but it's been long enough. So that, and, just have a very good functioning, business that's very organized and just taking it to that next step. So I can stay organized and focused. That's huge.
So organization and independence. That's the first one I heard.
Yeah, independence for sure. Independence,
like having your own
environment
that you've created, right? That you chose and are in. I love that. That's great.
I guess it's not so much a resolution, more so,
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because I've written about this so much that I don't even know where I think about it anymore. But I truly believe that resolutions are bullshit, simply because, we're only motivated to do the things we already want to do. So if we have to, wait until the beginning of a new year to think up some goal that we didn't already have, then what's the real motivation there? What are we actually trying to gain? Are we really going to go after it? So, I mean, I get that people, it's a tradition that people just do to kind of look back on their past and look to the future a little bit. But for me, you said it perfectly when you said, being more present. I think the post I re-shared on Monday was to just seek joy, even in the shitty moments, even in the times when you're really had to happen. Things were on point, and now boom, resistance at its finest.
I just told you about one that happened this weekend. So it's something shitty happens. And I did say to myself in that moment, there was, a freak accident that happened to my dog. And in that moment, I even said, I'm grateful that he's okay and he's going to be okay, so you have to, in that moment of, crap, there's going to be another $1,000 bill or whatever. I'm still grateful and happy that,
he's good.
He's good, and I'm good, and we're all good. And you have to.
It's kind of like, instead of a resolution for the year or for some huge extravagant goal you have to set, it is more about those in the moment resolutions that you've just resolved in your own mind to accept what's happened and move through it. And and wait, I'll take that a step further. Not just move through it, but intentionally do your best to seek joy, to be okay with that moment as you're going through it. And, and I had a mom, a friend of mine who's a mom, say something to me about, she was arguing in her head about the choice she should make as a mom, as a parent. I could do this or I could do this. And she kind of went back and forth with me. And I said, it doesn't matter which choice you make. You realize that, right? The fact that your intentions are good and it's this challenge that you're choosing to process and be with in the moment. You want to have a resolution with it. You're not just ignoring it or pushing it aside or um, or thinking more about it than you should. You're really just being present with it. That's all we can do. That's the best part of having a resolution.
I mean, it's a firm decision, you know what I mean? You just have to make that resolute in a way, so
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. Do not wait until 2021 to make a resolution or whatever you want. Do not wait. Just do it. Just if you want to lose weight, if you want to eat healthy, just fucking do it. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can do that.
Not just that, but just do something right now. Resolve all this. We talked about noise. We've talked about, I know it's a Mel Robbins thing, but just that idea of going forward, taking action, taking one baby step. And we all have goals that I've even said this before. People are like, are you going to take some time off or what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, what weekend? Like the rest of my life is
weekend anymore.
Project. Like I just have things I want to do and I'm going. So to know that there's always going to be these big goals that take a lot of time.
You're right.
Let's just kind of set those aside for a minute and think about what can we do right now? And the word that I wrote down to kind of counteract this whole idea of having a resolution, because that never works, is instead promise yourself a transformation. And if you use the word transformation, like this might sound cheesy, but just think of like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Like you don't even need to know the science behind it or how it all works, but there are these steps. It just doesn't go from A to Z. That there are all these different points along the scale where it's a completely different animal, creature, thing before it becomes the final thing that it's going to become. So those are all the baby steps, right? And
right. There is a journey.
Yeah, there's this journey that every step looks different.
You can't be, you got to be patient with yourself. I think that's another thing is being present, but also being patient with yourself. We always want to rush to that end goal. But it's hard. It takes a journey to get there. That transformation process, just like you said, the butterfly goes through. You just have to be patient. That butterfly is patient. You know what I mean? Like it's
doesn't even think about
life.
Yeah, he doesn't even think about it.
Yeah,
and it's
not the process.
It's to kind of like segue into this, the beauty of how life is imitated by art, and even more specifically in reality is imitated by photography. That's why we all love visual storytelling so much. This idea that by being resolute, being in the moment, being present and okay with the good and the bad, and just going through these steps and baby steps and being with every moment, what does that do? It creates a better quality of life, right? Like the more intentional we are, the more we're living life to the fullest, and we're fully present and can fully experience whatever that moment is bringing us, good or bad. The whole point is to just fully experience it. So if you think of the word resolution in photography, resolution is about the quality of an image. It's about the clarity. It's about, and clarity can show up in focus and in sharpness and all those things too. But the final outcome of that visual story has to do with the resolution of that image. And you got to decide right from the get-go, what kind of image is that going to be? How is it going to be used? Just like you do in life, right? Like, how do you want to live your life? How do you want to experience this moment? by intentionally making that choice, you get to say, oh, well, by doing this, it's going to be better quality. It's going to be a higher quality story, a higher
Right.
quality moment that I've captured. So
Mhm.
I know, I mean, when we think of web versus print, what we look at on the screen is completely different than what we look at when we're holding a physical object in our hands, and looking at, the details of whatever something is printed on too. I think of my canvases are all textured, right? So the resolution has to be even stronger and sharp, to make sure that it doesn't disappear in the toothiness and texture of the canvas.
Mhm.
You go through that with graphics as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty big on things being clear and sharp and in focus. What grinds my gears? When clients or someone, it doesn't even matter who it is, they'll screenshot something that say like my work, and then they'll post it and I'm like, is that a screenshot? You know what I mean? Like that has the lowest type of resolution out there. Do
Yeah.
not screenshot your stuff if you're going to post. Make sure the quality is good.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of good quality, good resolution. When your clients print stuff, I mean, if you want to talk about that for a second, resolution is important when you export, and same with graphics. It's very important when you go to print
Yeah.
stuff.
So tell us a little bit about um, I always, my mindset is always, what's the end goal? What is that final purpose of that thing, that image, that
Mhm.
graphic? Where is it going to go? And then I work backwards from there. So how do you decide when you are, because what we're talking about here, guys, is a digital image. It's not a physical file yet. So when Alicia's taking it into physical form, no matter what it was captured at, what you snapped it at, in the end, she's got to size it a certain way and give it a certain resolution. So talk to us a little bit about how do you make those decisions?
I mean, I guess it depends on how it's being printed or how it's being used. If it's being printed large, it has to have a very good resolution.
Yeah, what about a flyer or like a banner or something like that for an ad.
I
If you
still export at 300 DPI.
okay.
Because you never know. Sometimes your clients might print larger or smaller than, but I always try and give them a few different versions depending on what they're going to do with
That's
it.
a good point too, because you might have, that's been the biggest thing with when you're working with different businesses and brands, is the images that they need, will end up being used for multiple things. So
Mhm.
those of
Especially
you
marketing too. Like it could be
exactly,
anything. It could be a little icon, a favicon or whatever on the website URL or something. Though in that everything's very specific with resolution, especially when it comes to web. So
yeah, yeah. So the bottom line is, and 300 DPI dots per inch stands, is about the physical amount of dots within an inch of a print. So 5x7, 300 DPI. If you're printing 8x10 DPI, 300 DPI. If you're printing, I think my largest one is 60x32 inches. That's the width, that's the dimension, height versus width. But then there's this second, you know, area that you need to determine is, okay, here's your size, here's your ratio, but then where's it going? If it's going to print, you need those 300, versus if it's going to web, the average is about 72. And I will say that with Retina screens, which Apple started a few years ago, but just these higher resolution screens, quite often I have seen web designers ask for 150 DPI, and that is just double 72 about, and that allows for, like you said, they give multiple versions. So even like when I'm designing a website, I will have a mobile version of that website for that responsive image to show up mobily, I might make it the smaller image, but it will be at 150 DPI. It'll be a better resolution image for those smaller screens. But you mentioned it earlier, screenshots being the lowest resolution, that's that 72, right? So those of you who are staring at a screen right now watching us, you're only looking at about 72 dots per inch. If you're on an Apple, it's about 150. So when you're exporting in Lightroom and creating these images, that's really the two differentiators. Is if you're going to web, whatever you want your ratio to be, 72, print would be 300. But there's a whole nother factor here I wanted to bring up, and that's RAW versus JPEG. So I get asked this.
We can talk about PNG too if you want.
Yeah, that's true. And I get surprised sometimes how often I get asked about file differences. And I think just because we've been in this industry for 20 years and you just know it, so you're just too close to it.
Yeah.
But how would you describe like the difference between, like in simple terms, without getting too technical, like RAW versus JPEG, and what does that have to do with like resolution?
RAW is the original file with the most information, and JPEG is an exported, a smaller version of that, but highest resolution possible. And RAW can only be seen on, our programs that we use typically.
Right.
On every computer. So if someone got a RAW file, you're not going to be able to open it up on your phone or a computer until you actually import it into a program that can handle all that information.
That's a good way to put it, because it is a completely different type of file. And maybe for obvious reasons, okay, great, we want more information because then we can do more with the file when we're in post-production. We have higher quality, more resolution. But I'm going to add to that and say that in a RAW file, it's unprocessed. So when you click, take that picture, you're actually capturing more information than what you see on the back of your screen. And the reality is what you're seeing on the back of your screen is a JPEG version of that RAW. So even when you do bring a RAW file into a Camera Raw program, a program that uses Camera Raw, Lightroom, Photoshop, Photoshop Elements. There's other ones out there, Luminar, I think it's called. Even when you do open a RAW file, quite often it looks dull. It looks like either like super dark and empty or like washed out and
yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, no, I noticed that a lot.
And it's just because all the information is there. The brightest brights are there, the darkest darks are there. So it kind of looks muddy. And it allows us in post-production to extract the parts we want to emphasize more. Just like you would, if you ever use a darkroom with film photography, you're dodging and burning certain areas to pull out parts of that image. So, when I think about an unprocessed file, it's really, it's like a treasure trove. It's like when we take that shot, we're trying to get the best balance we can, but we know it's got so much more potential once we bring it into that program and we get to pull out and extract the best parts of it. So, and you're right, it's kind of contradictory because JPEG is a lower quality file because there's less information, but it's actually, for the most part, the better image because it's the final edited version. It's the best of all that information that you've captured, and it's flattened. It's able to be shared. So, those of you who are shooting on DSLR, whether you're just starting out or not, check your cameras. And if you are using Lightroom, make sure you're shooting in RAW so that you can get the most out of your programs. But if you're not using these programs, don't shoot in RAW because you're not going to be able to open them. And you can very much still edit with other easier programs, JPEGs and stuff. So, but it's all about resolution. It's all about deciding where we want to take those images. So I love the idea of having a variety, right? Like knowing a variety. I know that's important for web, different sizes, but also that image to a client could go to a lot of different places. It could go to print too. So,
when it comes to graphics too, I always add the PNG in there. I mean, that means it doesn't have a background, which is necessary for some people. So
yeah, absolutely. If they're going to overlay it and use it for other formats. Yeah, so PNGs are great too for the web. And you guys,
when you want to put your logo on your photos, on your, that's exported as a PNG if anything. And some of those apps on your phone can even handle it.
yeah, Canva is a great one if you want to do stuff like that. Canva is a great program to you do graphics without needing Photoshop, and you can use PNGs that are transparent in the background. And you can do print and web stuff for them too. So if you go into Canva, actually Canva is a cool program to kind of describe resolution, because when you make a file, the first thing they ask you is what size and what resolution do you want your file. So if you're making an Instagram post, maybe for your business, or maybe you just took some great photos after a Live Wonderful class and you just want to share it, if you're making a post, it will show you 1080 by 1080 is an Instagram post. And that's pixels. It's not inches, right? Because it's not going to print. It's pixels per dots per inch. It's pixels per inch. So, or if you go to make a flyer, you can make a 300 DPI, 5x7 flyer that you want to print, a Christmas card or whatever.
I've been trying to dab into pixels more often. I'm like, I'm gonna work with pixels today instead of inches.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No. Well, the other thing to keep in mind, guys, is if you're doing web work, those files are going to be much smaller. And when you're going to print, they're going to be much bigger. So think about how you're transporting those files. I cannot put my Nikon D850 raw file, which is 50 megabytes per click. 50 megabytes per click. It can't go in an email. I can't email that file, right? So think about how big your files are when you're trying to send them in an email, post them on Facebook, things like that. And ultimately, what do you want your resolution to be? Sometimes we want lower quality resolutions. I can tell you, you go to the website, if you go to livewonderful.com and look at some of the images, they are lower quality resolution, simply because I don't want people to steal them and be able to, see them higher quality. We only give away our higher quality images, those people who pay. So pay attention to how you're sharing your files as well.
Good point.
If anyone has any questions about resolution, let us know. Especially, I want to hear from you, not just in photography side and tips and questions about resolution, but let's take the time now before the new year starts. What are some of your resolutions? Or better yet, how do I put it? What is a transformation you can promise yourself for 2021? Share it with us. Let us know.
The transformations happening.
There are some big ones happening. Definitely. Okay, guys, we have one more Wednesday Wisdom coming up. That's it. Can you believe it? 8-9 months of this stuff. And we're heading into December is going to be student takeover. So if you are a past student or you have some great photos that you love from Live Wonderful and you want to share them, we are going to feature all of our students throughout the month of December. And then we'll be back here in January. So don't miss next week, guys. We will see you on the 25th, the day before Thanksgiving. Next week is Thanksgiving.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Love you all so much. Thanks, Alicia.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a great weekend.